Too often we get mired in the day-to-day monotonies and stresses of life, and thus we forget joy is supposed to be the baseline of our experiences. So how did we get to this space where we are no longer feeling massive amounts of joy? And more importantly, how do we reclaim that which is supposed to be our go-to station with life? I think we fell out of joy when we started to realize that life didn't necessarily play fair, as we erroneously equated fairness with joy. We struggled against this notion because our intuition told us that life was meant to be joyful, but unfairness took that joy away. In reality, it really isn't about being fair versus unfair. Rather, it's about being in joy or not in joy. Instead of constantly reminding ourselves every second that life is unfair or it's not meant to be joyful, let's start affirming the opposite, which is really the truth. It's meant to be joyful. Imagine how our lives would be had we focused on that framework growing up versus its opposite. We would have far more compounded experiences to demonstrate joy than anything to the contrary. So, how do we change from a constant stream of feeling not joy to being in joy? Well, the answer is actually quite simple. Start feeling and recognizing joy now, in everything, no matter how small. Remember, life doesn't happen to you, but rather you happen to life. You know, as the saying goes, happiness is an inside job. By recognizing joy now, you are priming the pump. All of us have decades of old thought habit patterns that need changing when it comes to this area. But when we work on seeing, recognizing, and most importantly, feeling joy now, it helps move us away from those mental ruts and gets us exploring in this new territory. It's so important to note that in order to meet the joy of the universe, we must condition ourselves to be a receptor of it. And gratitude can help with this. More often than not, you have to give yourself permission to accept joy and be open to receiving it. This is why feeling gratitude and joy now is so important despite current circumstances. It's part of the deprogramming and reprogramming effort that leads you step by step to the doors of universal joy. I also believe it's not just a matter of focus, because often we find that we cannot focus on something, far more than 3 or 4 seconds before we get distracted. And that's okay. Our belief habits aren't simply just a matter of what we focused on in the past. It's what we kept going back to in our minds. Cultivating joy works in the same way. What you consistently come back to, time and time again, will carve out that new pathway. It's like tuning a piano. You have to keep returning to it at the start, but then it gets in tune and remains there longer. This is how habits are formed. Consider an experiment in joy. A 30-day experiment. Tune yourself up to recognizing and feeling joy, And the more you do it and come back to it, it will become the dominant, normal frequency of your consciousness and your awareness, just like an instrument. I can't stress how important this is. If you can start viewing reality through love and joy, see what this does over a 30-day period. Make a conscious effort through joy of observing the outside world with love and joy conjured from within. Now here's the real kicker as to why feeling personal joy may be something far greater than even providing joy to another person in the act of deliberate service. And that is the collective consciousness. Each of us is contributing to this pool every second of every day. When we can cultivate joy within ourselves, that joy feeds into that stream. And we definitely need more joy consciousness in the collective. So, in a grand sense, you're not only improving your own consciousness and experience, you are adding that grandeur to the greater masses. You are providing a service far beyond 1, 2, or 100 individuals, but rather billions. Do you see now why joy is so important and why we need to return to it? Yes, it's going to take some work, if only because we've given ourselves some really bad habits of not being in this most basic yet profound state. But again, joy is the baseline. It's the foundation for why everything came into existence, for the very joy of the experience of life itself. When we can start feeding that back into the collective consciousness, then and only then will we start to see real and lasting change on a much larger landscape. So, cultivate joy today.